Hello, welcome to America First Texas. I am your host, Tyler Cambry. Today is Wednesday, July 1st, 2026. Make sure you like this video, share it out, subscribe to our channel, and while you're at it, send us a DM, say what's up, say hello. We talk back, we want to hear what you have to say, and maybe we'll talk about what you have to talk about on the show next time. Check us out, americafirsttexas.com. That is our website. You can see what we're about and send us a business inquiry at contact@americafirsttexas.com. Here's our social media handles. This is where we primarily reside at online, and you can come speak to us and engage with us and support us over there. Check us out at Twitch. Give us a follow over there. We have something cool coming up in the future. And if you really like the show, please go over to Rumble and support us over there at Rumble. It's our future-proof way of staying online and staying relevant. Rumble is where it's at. It's where it's going to be at for the foreseeable future. But for now, we're here and things are looking great. It is the 250th. How do you say that? Semi-cinquentennial? Is that right? I think I wrote that down so I wouldn't forget. Semi-quincentennial. It is the semi-cinquentennial. That's a tongue twister. The 250th birthday of the United States of America. It is on a Saturday, which is pretty awesome, but I think a lot of people would like that on a Friday, but at least you get time to really prepare for it. Man, I don't even know. Like, we have plans, obviously, like a major event, but I wish people would have got more into this, and there would be like major events, and even every small town, big town, regular city, like this needs to be such a bigger deal than it is. I know President Trump's doing everything he can and he's blowing it up, which is amazing, but like we need so much more local support. I think that the desensitization, I can never say that word right anymore. I used to say it like it was nothing. Desensitization. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. That word I can't pronounce for whatever reason anymore. It sucks that there's a little bit of it, but I think for the most part, I think more people are getting pretty excited. This week we had some, I don't want to say demoralization, but I think the general public is taking some of these Supreme Court rulings the wrong way. I can see why, because I was pumped up about one of them for sure. And we didn't get what we wanted to get out of it, but that fight isn't over and it doesn't go backwards. So, it's unfortunate, I guess you could say, but coming from an America First standpoint and knowing that we have President Trump in office and we are filtering out all these rhinos, and MAGA is slowly seeping up into all the forms of government, I'm not pessimistic about this one subject, which we'll cover here in a second. But it was interesting to see how it seemed like there was some, like at least one like major loss. And they all came out right before July 4th. Like they were all this week. So it almost appeared to be like a demoralization campaign. But I guess this is just the Supreme Court coming out on their rulings at this time. Maybe they were in hopes to be a gift to us, which we actually got some gifts. I think some of y'all need to do a little more reconsideration about what you're reading and quit reading the comment section of posts. It's time to unplug from that, I would say. Myself included, trust me, follow my lead on this one here. But we have a lot of good things coming up. I know gas prices are changing right now. This Iran conflict has probably resolved, like you could say it's over the hill for the most part. They've come to their resolution and they're going to continue doing what they're doing as being evil pieces of shit that they are. Those people, they just don't change. You personally know people like this, whether you pay attention to that or not. And I'm not saying, Islamists. I'm not saying Islamist, but people with this mind frame, evil pieces of shit who will destroy everything and encroach upon your life and leverage you. And if you don't let them do that, then then they don't. Then it's just you just don't want a relationship with them or whatever. They're just super manipulative people, and they will take it to the grave. You can never fix them. You just have to keep your foot on their neck and keep them down, because once you give them an inch, they take a mile. So it is the same mind frame with these Islamists over here in Iran. So you can crush them, destroy them, but they don't care. The ideology is so beyond their brain. It's in their heart, it's in their soul. And that half of the country, or I don't know if it's half of them exactly or not. I would just imagine it's 50-50. Just like here we have the Democrats and the Republicans. I know we have the independents, but most people in the independent party are just like, they don't have an identity. They're just kind of stuck in the middle because they don't know which stigma is the worst. Um, so people lean towards Republican right now because there's less stigma, but then you have these people who are fighting for power, like Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon, who are trying to take over MAGA once President Trump is gone. And they're completely ruining this beautiful opportunity that the Republican Party has right now to get this perfect identity, as close to perfect as possible. Which, fortunately, as those people fall off the cliff like they currently are, and unfortunately the people who also listen to them will get stuck down there with them if they're not going to jump back on this train, we are going to be a gravitational at minimum. And that is why America First Texas is pressing on. I can tell you that sort of stigma affects what we do here. It definitely hinders my ability to grow here as a business owner. It affects this show's numbers. It affects everything. Currently this show is outgrowing my personal audience, which really sucks because, when you figure you start a podcast or a show, you would get the support of, the people around you that but that's not usually how it actually works out. And I found that out with the last company that I started, that people who actually know you actually get jealous that you're pursuing something that they are incapable of doing, or something that they wish that they could do. And you're absorbing their dream by making your own. Um, you know, but I've already been through that before, so it was to be expected. But I wasn't expecting this show to outpace the audience that I don't personally know, uh, versus the people that I do personally know. Particularly with the rapport that I've built up, campaigning online for President Trump for the past several years. I've kept this train of thought going on online for a long time, and I've affected a lot of people. I've leveraged a lot of people off of the judgments and the capturing. But this falling out with Tucker Carlson and all these podcasters, um, it's done a lot of damage. I can't act like it hasn't, even if it's only like 6% of the Republican Party that fell for it. It's still 6 out of 100 people that and a lot of them were strong voices that you really needed on your team. And they just got left behind, and that part is unfortunate. But they would have been big supporters, and those strong voices would help out the movement so much more if they would just turn off the TV and unplug from everything. But they're just not going to, and that part of the party is just falling off a cliff, and it seems like they're going after an independent, like, third party or something right now. I'm not sure what's going on over there, but there's some sort of collaboration. Um, but it doesn't matter. Like, MAGA is here to stay. The power of the silent majority really showed up during this primary season. I think if you wanted to get a real taste of the future, it was this primary election. That was the most telling to me after looking back on it these past like 2 months now. It really showed me. It showed me what I really was hoping to see. If I needed reassurance, it was during that primary election. That primary election was probably the most important primary election that I've ever seen. Um, and it gives me an extreme amount of optimism. Now it still sucks to go through this and watch this subculture and this faction of which was a piece of us fall off. But there's nothing that you can do at this point. All you can do is just hope and pray that they turn the TV off and jump back on the train, which they're going to be on the caboose. They can still jump back on, but they're not going to be at the front of, they're not going to be anywhere close to the engine of this train, which is where they ultimately want to be. They wanted to start a whole new train and make it the new train of thought to follow. And sorry, it's the Trump train forever. You're not jumping off, and I said that, the America First Texas train is right behind it, but I only say that because America First Texas is not currently connected to the Trump train. We would have to be recognized by President Trump and allowed to be attached to it, and we'll have to prove ourselves doing so. And I don't mind doing that. I don't mind proving ourselves. I hope that we do get his attention one day. But I know we have a long way to go. I don't even know that the things that I've put together here for this company, whether they completely align with what he would want and expect anyway. I will find that out in the future, but that is 100% my intention. And if you don't know, some of you might be new here today. If you don't really know what America First Texas is, this is where we currently are. We are more than just a name, a brand, a train of thought. We are actually a service provider for you in several different areas. Now, we will expand as time goes on. Some of this might fall off, but I don't think that it will, because we have our primary goal and focus right now is in the relocation sector, because there are a lot of people still moving. Oh, you know what? I actually had a great graphic. Bear with me before I go on, because I think I actually saved something I wanted to show you, but I don't know that I saved it on the computer. I might have just saved it on my phone. Oh man, I think that I did. That sucks. I actually had some good statistics. And I bet you it's right here on my phone. During the meantime, while I look for this graphic real quick, here is what America First Texas currently consists of. Welcome to America First Texas. We are the Texas region of the America First movement. Based in DFW, serving Texans statewide, we are a network of proud, patriotic, values-driven citizens who prioritize faith, family, and freedom. As America became unaffordable, families across the nation began looking to Texas for opportunity. America First Texas opens its arms with a powerful America First ecosystem dedicated to building a foundation that helps transition and transform you, your family, and your local economy. Whether you do not live in Texas yet, or you are already a resident of this great state, we are going to provide you with real area-specific statistics, visual community walkthroughs, local representative introductions, and America First Texas vetted and approved local businesses that align with your values. At America First Texas, we are doing the groundwork for you, so you can confidently support local restaurants, connect with trusted dentists and doctors, explore schools and education options, transition into new career opportunities through our staffing services, and work with realtors and builders who want to help you establish your new home foundation. Follow along, subscribe, and share this with those close to you as we build the strongest America First ecosystem in Texas. Thanks for being here. So that is what we do over here. We are a relocation service. We are in the process of getting our real estate license so that we can service you as well. And we are connected to several other real estate agents who are aligned with America First, Texas, MAGA, Republicans. We're gathering up this sector and we are going to be looking out for you. We're not only just going to provide you with a service to help you find the proper area to fit, we're creating a mini series where we're going to be an area guide where we're going to cover basically every little mini section of each county to help you understand who is your local representative in this county, what the statistics are. Of course, we have to abide by all the rules by doing this, which is easily done, no problem. But we are just here to influence you to, like, if this was us, this is where we would move. And I'm actually going to physically showcase all of these areas. We're going to give you aerial footage, on the ground footage. We're going to show you local restaurants. We're going to go over a lot of different things. So we're going to actually be a visual guide for you so you can make your own decision. We're just going to be that funnel for you and open some doors, open your mind a little bit. Um, so that's mainly what we consist of. We are also a staffing service. So while you move here, you might have family or friends that might need jobs during this relocation. We will help you find those as well. Maybe you just need to move here or move somewhere, even if it's within the same metroplex. That wouldn't be a problem. We're still here to help you. But would like to focus on people out of state right now because places like New York are turning completely communist. So, let me take this away while I'm here. But I did find the graphic that I was looking at. Here it is. I probably have to resize it. And I absolutely need to resize that. Golly. That thing is zoomed in all the way. All right. So here is your relocation statistics. You know what? I'm just going to zoom in this a little bit and we'll just scroll up and down. And I'm sorry for the quality of this picture. It was a screenshot from my phone, and I don't know how good of a source this actually was, but here is where Americans are moving to versus leaving. Currently, people are moving pretty hardcore to North Carolina, um, which is really interesting. And you know what? What did I just do? I don't know if this has the time frame on it, but I know this. Let me see if it does it mention time. It does not. But just know that when I grabbed this, this was current numbers. This wasn't like 2 years ago. This was at least recent enough for me to bring up to you. I meant to save this already and have this planned, but I forgot that I took this until we were talking. But right now, North Carolina is the number one spot to move to for whatever reason. Um, I hope they go to Asheville. Wait, no, is that South Carolina? Where is Asheville? Asheville is a hellhole, but it's beautiful. Texas is number two still, or number. I think was Florida number one and Texas number two, or Texas number one and Florida number two. I can't quite remember, but Texas is still strong for relocation. A ton of people are moving here, and for good reason. And I don't expect that to change. Um, the relocation here to Texas is probably going to stay in the top two. I'm surprised it's not number one. I don't know why North Carolina pulled ahead. Pretty substantial pull ahead, if in my opinion. That's like 17,000 more people moved to North Carolina instead of Texas, and South Carolina is basically tied. So the Carolinas are attracting a lot of people. Now that they have beaches, and it's a little bit of a different state. I've been to both of the states. They're not bad looking states. But Texas has a massive amount of opportunity. It is, I don't know how to put into words what, like, where Texas is really going, but it is turning into one of the biggest, like, states. And it's the best state. I love Florida. I've lived there several times. Florida is number 8. It has fallen off significantly, and I think that has a lot to do with the um the home insurance. And the homeowners insurance is ridiculous. One of the shows that I listen to a lot, the the host of the show said he moved to Florida, and when he moved there, he got a tentative amount for his homeowners insurance. But he wasn't told that it was tentative. He was told it was actually a certain amount, but they had to redo his policy once he arrived. And yeah, it was insane. So South Carolina still strong. Tennessee number 4, Arizona number 5, which is weird. Arizona's really pretty, but that place is corrupted. It's one of the worst. Georgia's jacked up too. Don't know why they're going to Georgia. People see this shows you that people aren't doing their research. Alabama's number 7, Florida's number 8, Idaho number 10, 9, Nevada number 10. Nevada. Now I pronounce it all like sophisticated. Nevada. Nevada. Nevada is number 10. Don't know why. Oklahoma 11, Arkansas 12, Missouri 13, Vermont 14. Where are people leaving? Net losses. California substantially higher than anywhere else, which makes sense because it is a bigger state, and that state is the worst state. New York is a strong number 2, which makes a lot of sense. Basically, the upper state New York and other rural areas aren't that bad still. They're still governed incorrectly by Democrats, but New York City and that whole hub of people is clearly like the worst. So New York City and that whole area is what you have to worry about the most. That is the core of communism in New York. But California as a whole, yeah, that's, I mean, 250,000 plus people have left that place. Um, so yeah, it makes sense. I can't honestly, I can't believe it's not more. I wish I had more of a time. I wish this had dates on it because I think that they had the dates in the like in the title of the graphic. But I can't remember where I got this from now. So I'm sorry I don't have the dates, but this was recent. This was a recent number. So this is not outdated and this is pretty fairly current up to date, or I wouldn't have shown you this. A lot of people leaving Illinois, 40,000. New Jersey, 37,000. Massachusetts, number 5 for leaving. So basically that whole north area. Louisiana, a lot of people leaving there. It's number 6. That's kind of surprising. Um, I mean, I'm not surprised a bunch of people are leaving Louisiana. I just am surprised it's number 6. Maryland up there, Colorado. A lot of people leaving Colorado. I think they figured that out that, you know what, this sucks. I got the free weed, the legal weed. I got it, but man, this place is horrible. And Colorado's beautiful. And guy, why would you want to leave that? There's a reason. Hawaii's number 9. A ton of people fleeing Hawaii. And Connecticut. Connecticut's all that whole upper northeastern corner, with the addition of Illinois and Colorado and Hawaii, but everybody's fleeing those areas up north. Alaska's number 11, Pennsylvania is number 12, New Mexico 13, and Rhode Island in 14th place. So this is where we will be doing a bunch of our targeting. This is great numbers for us. So we can put our advertising out to these states. And that's exactly what we will be doing. And we'll be funneling traffic in from there to here in Texas. And once we get this mini series rolling out, then that should help us do that. And I'll be funneling our ad spend towards those directions to bring those people in. Don't mind me, still need a little bit more coffee. I'm not brain dead, but I mean, I've been doing a lot of studying, working. It's one of those days I just need a second coffee. So yeah, Texas still, I'm surprised we're number 2, but honestly, we should shoot back up to number 1, especially with as much opportunity that's coming here. So don't be surprised if those numbers change with a little bit better marketing and as we evolve here and grow. I I always had this inclination to move back to Florida. I love Florida so much. I don't know if we'll end up getting a second home there or actually moving there. Um, we will see as time goes on. But I'm surprised it fell so far down to number 8. And I think they're fleeing because of the insurance problem, and that would make sense. According to the host of the show that I watch, and which is a very valid and valuable source of information, this guy says that he showed up with one quote, which was already really high, and once he moved in, they had to. The underwriter is like, "Well, we have to do this again." You're and it's going up, and it was an insane amount of money he's paying. It was over $1,000 a month, if I remember correctly. I don't think it was 2,000, but I think it might have been. But this person has a bigger house. But I think he said it was like $2,000 a month for homeowners insurance. Don't quote me completely. I might have that number wrong, and I haven't heard this conversation in several months now, so my memory might be a little off. But it sounded like it was over $1,000 a month. It was up there. That's a lot. Um, it's like 4 times minimum higher than, like, other areas where it's already too expensive. So that sucks about Florida right now. But that makes Texas one of the more attractive places to move. And, I can tell you as things go on, Texas isn't falling. It doesn't matter how many people move here, we're not turning blue. I guess we're semi-purple, but we're stronger red than you think. And the silent majority is really, really like making our moves up here. We're showing up and we're voting. And that's something we haven't really been fond of doing. We still can't get the silent majority to speak up that much. I think that hive mind just it's still boiling, I think. We're much more outspoken than we've ever been, but there's this core hive that we haven't really reached and peaked to. And it makes sense. It's kind of like who our soul is anyway. We show up and we do things. We're more about action than we are words anyway. But I'm of the opinion that this is like the time to speak up and stomp out more than just action, because we have a lot of different problems. And I think people are still afraid to speak up because they just don't know what to say still. I think that's one of the bigger problems. It doesn't matter how much information you can absorb, how much of like a train of thought or the mind frame that you can jump onto and cling to. I think it just takes several years or months to gain a comprehension. People don't like to speak on something they can't comprehend. It's not that they don't know what to talk about or have a good idea or a good opinion. I think it's their level of comprehension on too many subjects that it hinders them from having a conversation a majority of the time. And that leaves them disenfranchised when, people like me show up and they know me personally and we have these conversations, and they don't want to feel like like their words are meaningless because of like my certainty. And that part sucks because I coach a lot of people which without them knowing that I'm coaching them to get their mind frame correct, because we are so easily psyoped. It can happen to me too. But I stick to my reliable sources of information and I unplug. I can tell like I need to disengage from these comments because the comments affect my mind frame. And I realize like this particular post is written by the author a very particular way, and the comment section is full of people not like me, which makes me engage with these people. And even though I argue with them and I beat them in conversation, I can tell they're trying to cling on to my information to crawl on top of it. And then they call me out for wanting to spar, which is what they're actually doing. So they will project what they're doing onto you while trying to relate to you and debate and copying and pasting information that they're Googling and researching. So you're arguing with a bunch of illegitimate people who are just there to dominate you and spar with you and fight you over these ideologies so that they can win over power because they don't like having power. These people are desperate to have power over you, but you don't really care about that kind of stuff, which is why it's almost best sometimes that you just don't even speak with them. I got into that today. There was a girl who's on our page trying to like go after us too, and she missed a lot of things. She does her research. She was copying and pasting stuff that she got off of chat GBT or whatever, and it's helping her understand what these Supreme Court rulings were saying and how it helped, who it helped, and it's clearly helping her form an opinion of what is actually happening, who it's helping. But you could just tell that this person didn't want that to be, and they wanted to gloat that we didn't win the birthright citizenship. But there was something in particular that really is going to change things. And that's what the actual post that I was replying to on our business page was referring to, but she wouldn't address it because she didn't understand. And she thought that the executive order, what was the other piece? She was talking about the Trump versus Slaughter being like the biggest win, and how he's just gonna be ruling and just eliminate whoever, which is basically swiping off their claim to power. And that's what she's most upset about. So she thinks that's what the biggest win is. But um, that's like short term, um maybe not short term, but that's like immediate stuff. But I have a very long foresight. So I look at things from a very long distance, as long as reasonably long distance as I can. And I like a different one. And I actually heard uh, one of the show hosts that I watch almost every day talk about this also, and it's one that had my most interest, and he broke this down well. And that has to do with the campaign finance. Um, so I've been working with a couple of the GOPs here in DFW, and I learned some things about those places, some things I didn't want to know. Nothing against them, but it made being close to the chairs of the GOPs, or close enough, and hearing them say what they had to say and their transparency about the state of GOP, it made me really worry. It wasn't anything that they had done or any of us had done in the past. It made me realize how much damage the Obama administration had actually done to the GOP party across the landscape of the entire country, even here in Texas. The things that I've heard from different GOP chairs about their counties, I don't want to say frightened me, but it let me know the truth, the actual truth of like, this is how much damage has actually been done. And I was like, what? It was way worse than I thought. And it's not being talked about. So I probably shouldn't go into deep discussions about it. In fact, I know that I can't, but I can tell you that the campaign finance section of the Supreme Court is going to be big. And I know that personally because of what I've seen this past year, within these past 18 months, finding out what I found out what's happened to the GOP, even just here in Texas. That's a that one's got my attention. That makes me look open-ended far down the timeline. And I'm like, that one got the most attention. No, I have to mention, like, the Trump versus Slaughter is huge. Um, and that was a 6-3 win. So the President Trump can fire independent agency leads, which strengthens executive power, unitary to executive, and it's huge for draining the swamp. Um, I would be interested to see what he's going to do with that. Um, was that Roosevelt or Franklin? I think that was the show host I was watching yesterday. He was covering this as well, and I think he said that this was actually taken away from a president. And I think he said it was Roosevelt, but I thought it was Franklin. I could be wrong. Shows my knowledge of history. I need to study up more on that stuff myself. But this was taken away a while back, either during Roosevelt's term or Franklin's term. I guess it was Roosevelt's. It always makes me think of Franklin because I remember the $100 bill, the look on his face on the $100 bill, and it reminded me of when that power was taken away from him. That's why I was thinking it was Franklin, but I think the host yesterday said that it was actually Roosevelt. So maybe it was. I should probably look that up. Um, well, you can look that up too. Um, but the Trump versus slaughter is huge. It's huge, especially for the longevity of this. But like I said, the campaign finance win that's got my attention because of knowing what I know. Transgender athletes from the state level, they can't be in the school sports anymore. At first I was like, let's start with the WNBA, but once I actually read what it was talking about, it's about protecting women's sports, like in high school, college, lower schools. But that's huge. That's a big change. You can't, no more dudes, you know, whooping girls' asses in sports, boxing. I can't believe we even got there. Like, this is what happens when you don't speak up. I can't. That was actually a thing, dude. You can't ever let the Democrats get in control again. Get in control. Just watch New York from afar. It's the biggest spotlight. Um, the birthright citizenship, Trump versus Barbara, that was a loss. It upheld the broad 14th Amendment application. It's very disappointing. That one, I think that one struck me the most at first. When I first thought about it, I was like, really? So the anchor babies just get to stay? Like, it was similar to like the abortion topic, because the abortion topic is like, the biggest talking point for abortions is that, you know, so you will just let a woman die during childbirth because she can't have the kid, and she can't have, so she has to have the abortion so the mom doesn't die. That's like one of their biggest go-to talking points. So one of the biggest talking points for birthright citizenship that they say is that well, before I just say it's like the biggest talking point, it's one of the more common things that are brought up to fight for it is, I mean, I almost said asylum, but I don't think that's actually correct. I think it's well known that you can be an illegal alien, you can come here, you can get knocked up and have a baby, and that automatically gives you citizenship. It's like it almost qualifies the mom or the dad to get citizenship because they had a kid here too. So it's almost like a 2-for-1. Um, and when we think about this, we don't really consider people being on visas or having, whatever form of allowance to be here to work, or maybe they're just not supposed to be here at all. But everybody knows that, the border jumpers are coming through regardless of what actual race they are. And they come here and they get into a relationship with somebody, or, accidentally have a kid with somebody, and then they get their citizenship because the kid was born on our soil. So for whatever reason, we didn't win that one. And I don't know if that's, I was starting to think to myself, was this like a political move here? We'll keep this. We'll vote with the Supreme Court. Will probably make a move to where, like, we'll vote with you against this one and keep it as long as we get your support on something else. But if you look at the other ones, they were all 6-3. So the liberal judges, or I don't like even calling them liberal. The communist judges are they didn't vote with anything else. So I don't even know if the politics was the reason. I think it's literally just Amy Coney Barrett. I know Roberts made a bad decision too, but it's Amy Coney Barrett that's screwing over everything. Like, when Trump swore her in, I saw it in her face. I knew right there, like, this is a bad pick. But he did it to, like, at that point in time, he did it to appease women, because the female hive mind had completely dominated this landscape online, which controlled the public square to a horrible extent. That's why cancel culture was going on. It's all about feelings and perception, and you don't say something because I know someone who wouldn't like that, and nothing was ever related to anything. And when he put her on the court, I knew that it was a public negotiation to get women's support. It's what it really seemed like to me, which maybe at that time was the right move. I know, I know that like it's hard to put things in place for the future to make negotiations. Um, when you just want to eliminate. So honestly, I think that putting Amy Coney Barrett on the Supreme Court was the right decision at the time for President Trump because he is about peace and negotiating, and he really wants this neutrality between everybody. And he has stated multiple times that he's going to unite everybody. That's what he truly wants. He truly is moderate. He's not this extreme right. Uh, we're kind of finding out what the far right is now, but he's not that. Now if you push him there, he'll get there, just like all of us. But you can say that about anybody. You can push anybody to the further side if you treat them like shit hard enough and long enough. Um, but that's just not him. And I think people are mistaken that because the Democrats have run with so much rhetoric about him that they paint this picture 24/7, and it lets you not get to know the guy. And it's resulting in us not even like getting to really enjoy his presidency. It almost seems like, in fact, the host of the show that I watch a lot yesterday actually said this too. He said that they're trying to sunset um, President Trump's presidency right now already, and I can't say he's wrong. That was honestly probably the best way to put it because that's exactly what I'm kind of perceiving about it too. It's like they have watered down and like disrespected so much and disregarded um that that was the point of like the earlier what I was saying, that nobody's even really appreciating the America 250. Like the demoralization campaign by these people is insane. It really works. And it has to do with us reading the comments and engaging like just mentally and what these people have to say. And this is why I've been saying for so long, like you need to speak up and say something and knock these people out. Like you're not going to win an argument with them, but you need to tear them down because they're not going to stop. It is a communist revolution. It is not over, but it is not going to succeed anytime soon. Um, we're vanquishing that as much as possible, but it's growing in other areas. But as long as it grows in concentrated areas like New York City, you can watch from afar and watch it, turn over on itself. And then when you can travel from New York City to a place like Texas or vice versa, the culture shock would be insane. Um, Absolutely insane. So that's not going to capture America anytime soon, but it is a serious threat, and I don't see it going away unless President Trump does a couple of things that I think that he might do, and I think we'll see that. Maybe even JD Vance when he gets in. I'm pretty sure that's who is going to be our presidential front runner. Which actually reminds me, we've got a strong prediction that we know who one of the primary opposition candidates is going to be to JD Vance. And that person is this person. There's no better place than Texas to make the case. Republicans have to show up, fight, and win in November. Ted Cruz is reposting President Trump. President Trump's post. Big news. For the first time ever, the Republican Party will hold a midterm convention. It will be in Dallas, Texas, one of my favorite places in the world. It will be fantastic. It has never been done before and will be a truly historic event. We are going to celebrate the great American comeback and the incredible successes of the American people who transformed our country through the America First agenda. no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, stronger borders, safest ever communities, lower cost and real affordability, more jobs, American energy dominance, and so much more. Oil prices are dropping sharply, even as we denuclearize Iran. We are delivering on the promises that politicians talked about for decades, but never got done. At the event, we will have hardworking Americans, our great innovators, entrepreneurs, manufacturers, first responders, and job creators who are powering our nation's golden age and proving that America's best days are still ahead of us. We will also have lots of great entertainment. It will be a rally like none other. America's 250th birthday is approaching, and together we are building the foundation for the next 250 years of American greatness. Dallas will take center stage on September 9th and 10th as we celebrate our nation, our achievements, and our bright future. The golden age of America has only just begun. President Donald J. Trump. Now, that is one hell of a post. The problem is Ted Cruz is right here talking about it, promoting it, because he is putting forth a digital footprint that will allow you to go back in time and look at his posts and not realize that, hey, oh no, sorry about that. That's the problem I was talking about last week. Ted Cruz is about to make the biggest mistake of his entire political career, and that is running for president of the United States against Vice President J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, if I'm guessing correctly, which I think we're all guessing. That's going to be an interesting convention. It seems like Ted Cruz is probably going to be there. But my strong prediction is that we talked about this last week. He started being critical of President Trump, and obviously his information is amazingly incorrect, which he knows that. Though that means he's trying to create a train of thought so that you latch onto that train of thought. And unfortunately, I know some important people who are going to back that and push that. And that definitely describes my relationship with them. I still can't talk about that. Yeah, I stopped myself last week. I'm going to stop myself this week. But we have Ted Cruz out here still promoting President Trump so that you are not going to be on to him when he runs against him. I've been a big supporter of President Trump. No, you've created a digital footprint that can't track what you're saying, so you're lying because you're a lying Ted. So yeah, and I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of him anyway, but he's had his times. He's done some things, and he was at least, at minimum, he was a voice during a time when there were no voices. But he's just like, uh, he's Texas Ron DeSantis. It's the same thing. Um, Huge mistake. So I would warn you to pay attention to the people who are going to be supporting Ted Cruz coming up here in the future. Yes, I've met the guy. I've shooken his hand. I've taken pictures with him because at the time I thought it was cool. I'm meeting a Texas senator. I'm kind of new into politics. I understand a lot, but I didn't really get his thirst. Now I know he ran against President Trump in the past, during the 2016 campaign, but I didn't really understand the dynamics of the relationship back then because I was, just waking up to everything, me personally. And now that I know things and now that I know what this is about, it's the same shit as Tucker Carlson and all these other guys trying to pull you away and gain power. Because if you really think about it, like Democrats they don't have a chance like winning anything really, except for maybe locally in their own areas, like anytime soon. Like this primary election lets you know, like even Republicans who are not on board are not going to be around. Like, we are getting you out of here. We're uprooting, we're ripping the roots out and replanting, and we're not going to move. That's the good thing about the silent majority. You may not hear from them, and you can get run over online and captured. I guess kind of, not even really, because they don't know where you stand. But our grassroots movement is foundational for a long time. Like, this is a long future. And that's what President Trump is saying. We are setting the next foundation for the next 250 years. And I absolutely think I can 100% see that he is telling the truth in that post. It is clear as day about this primary election, which should piss you off that JD Vance is going to have to run against somebody like Ted Cruz, which probably means Ted Cruz's position will be up for competition as well. And I hope that he gets primaried. I don't know who would be there. Maybe Wesley Hunt. Maybe that was one of the reasons that Wesley Hunt decided to run against Cornyn and Paxton, was to get his name in there for branding purposes. Hey, I ran for Senate. I'm not done. Maybe Wesley Hunt will be the next contender against Ted Cruz for senator for his Senate position. I still don't know how I feel about that, to be honest with you, because I think Wesley Hunt still has a lot of proving to do because of his past. Um, but at that point, I think that I would probably vote for Wesley Hunt over Ted Cruz if he really goes forward with this, because like the online dude, what the Dilly meme team is going to do to Ted Cruz, it's going to ruin his career. I don't think he understands what's going to come after him if he decides to throw his hat in the ring, and he's already like moved a step forward towards that direction. And that's what we covered last week, or the last show. I think it was the last show. That is a big problem. But in some good news, there's a lot of, flip-flopping about our governor and what he thinks and has to say, which rightfully so. So Greg Abbott, he's giving his opinion about birthright citizenship, and this is a good sign. So Governor Greg Abbott is a voice. During times when we have no power, he holds his position neutrally as well as possible. Definitely not as strong as we want, but he is a great, how do I say this correctly? Governor Greg Abbott he's a great chess piece for President Trump. So regardless of what you actually think about the guy, if you think about politics wise, um, the amount of years that he's been there, the influence that President Trump has over him, and the leverage that he has over him, it's who you want. I can't think of anybody who would be really better. Nobody's putting their hat in the ring that's really worth anything close to Governor Greg Abbott. I'm not promoting the guy, but my point is that, like, when we went through an era where we had no power, our opinions were deleted off the internet, we had no mouthpiece, he at least made attempts to move the ball forward in our direction where almost nobody else did. And he was more than just speaking up. He would at least, like, he used to put all those layers of barbed wire across the border so people couldn't get in. But who knows what he was actually being prevented from doing from the president at that time, or that administration. Wasn't even really Biden there. Um, so it's hard to promote the guy, but it's also like, thank you for at least trying something when nobody was trying anything. But here is where he is giving his opinions now that we have the power and the influence. So I think it's worth. He's been really funny, and he's been into the meme game, and he made that a video of him in his wheelchair dunking on Kamala Harris with President Trump in the stands laughing, and he's in his wheelchair. Like his account is becoming fun. And I think that's very important. I think comedy needs to be inserted into this because it's hilarious. But I think sometimes his opinions are important. And this is one of those times where I think his opinion is important. So let's check out what he has to say. This was yesterday, so I'm a day behind. Today's Supreme Court decision is a missed opportunity to restore the original meaning of the 14th Amendment. Birthright citizenship has become a powerful magnet for illegal immigration that will forever change our nation if left unaddressed. Automatic citizenship for children born to parents in the United States illegally or only temporarily is an absurdity that was never contemplated by our Constitution nor agreed to by the American people. Congress must clarify that American citizenship means something and does not extend automatically to children whose parents are in this country unlawfully or temporarily. The American people and the sovereignty of our nation deserve nothing less. Um, so yeah, he's going over that. There's the Democrats that do not want to read what they have to say. I'm not going to show that on my show. But you, at minimum, at least have Governor Greg Abbott at least speaking about this, letting you know this is my opinion, this is my take, this is my stance, and I stand with the American people, Texans as well, mainly. That I'm against this. I think this is wrong, and he is still letting you know that like I've still got your back. Here is my stance and my opinion, and it feels great telling you this. So President Trump is not concerned about that at all. He is basically telling you that I'm going to go take this to Congress. Nah, that would have been nice. Oh well. And I think it's a really big deal to a lot of people online, which, you know, I agree with it too, but it's just nothing. You can just look at it just like nothing happened. It's just going to stay the same. So, you know, we're talking about the ball moving forward, but the ball didn't go backwards here. It's just we're just in this shitty situation that is we're stuck in neutral. We can't put it into gear. And that sucks. It really does suck. Let's not act like it doesn't, because it sucks. And this is not right. It's like it's the equivalent to devaluing the American dollar. Like you can go to any other country across the world, especially like what 20 years ago, you go give somebody $100 bill. It's like them making like a $5,000. Like it was some weird equivalent where even like a $20 bill would go so far because it was the value of American money. But the the devaluation of the American dollar makes it not as cool, not as important. It makes it's too much of it. It's not rare. It's easy to get. It's easily accessible. It waters down the value, and that brings down the value of our country. And it's the same exact concept here. Um, so President Trump isn't worried about it. So you're probably going to see a bunch of the Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon people making commentary about this, saying, "Well, see, I told you he's not America first, and this is what we're for. We need to go extreme." But the Supreme Court didn't move forward, and you can blame Amy Coney Barrett. I know Roberts did it too, but you can blame Amy Coney Barrett for that one. Her decision alone would have switched, and she's the one who's making the majority of the bad decisions on the conservative side. Conservative side, meaning she's clearly not that conservative. But you can't chalk this up to a loss to Trump because we didn't lose anything. It's just it stayed the same, nothing changed. So that position is stuck in neutral. But it sucks. It really sucks because that was something to really look forward to. And that would have been a great move of momentum for President Trump. But the fact that he's going to put in the work to get Congress to move that forward is going to be evidence to this faction of MAGA that has fallen off and gone to a different direction. The six percenters. It's going to show you that President Trump is still putting in the work to move what you're saying that he's not doing forward and he's going to get it done. That's what he's telling you. So that's why this is another reason you should unplug from those people and quit listening to them and distance yourself for this time, because they don't know what they're talking about. They are clinging on to that ideology, which we have not let go of, but we just went to a different direction because we had a rare opportunity with Iran. And ever since then, this whole narrative of Trump is weak and whatever, you cannot listen to what other people have to say about President Trump. You just have to focus on that man. And we have been saying that for a long time now. With that being said, the MAGA takeaway, net positive. Executive authority, cultural issues, tools for real change. We are in great position for a long time, and you need to be happy about it. So at first, I was demoralized like most of you. But once I paid more attention and listened to what President Trump had to say this week about the Supreme Court wins, I focused on what he focused on, and I saw the value in what he's focusing on. And I was like, gotcha. Thank you. That makes sense. He moved it forward for you by his words. So I hope that you tuned into what he says, and I hope that you keep tuning into what he says and only focus on his words. Quit reading everything else. Unplug all of it and just focus on what President Trump has to say. He's letting you know and guiding you down the right path. Jump on the train, stay on the train. Everything else is bullshit. All of it. Moving on. Gas. Let's talk about gas prices real quick. So we made a post here at America vs. Texas last week that our prediction is that within the next 2 weeks, you should see gas here in Dallas, DFW area at least, around $2.50 a gallon, because our Texas oil per barrel from the Gulf Coast area was about $70 per barrel, and it was pretty stagnant around that area, which means our gas realistically should be about $2.50 a gallon here. Then President Trump made a post talking about price gouging and warning gas companies, letting you know that, hey, if you gouge the prices right now, I'm coming after you, because that is illegal. And interestingly, last time he did that earlier this year, if I remember correctly, it was the beginning of this year when he did that. And we talked about this earlier on the show too. In fact, I know that it was earlier this year. When he did that, gas dropped by like 50 cents. And then about 3 weeks later, when he quit talking about it, 3 to 4 weeks later, the gas rose back another 25 cents up for no reason at all. Instead of going further down, they brought it back up because Trump didn't put the pressure on. So this time, looking at the total of price of gas driving around last night and this morning, President Trump put that pressure on and it didn't go down like it did last time. It actually went back up. So I paid for $2.89 a gallon of gas Sunday, or was it Saturday? Either this past Sunday or Saturday, I paid $2.89 a gallon of gas. And driving around last night, which was Tuesday, so 2 to 3 days later, I forget which day exactly, Sunday maybe. So Tuesday night, last night, 2 to 3 days later, gas went up to $3.29 on average around here. That's a big spike. Like that's a 35 cent or 40 cents? That's a 40 cent increase. So this time, instead of dropping at 50 cents or so, like President Trump pressured them to do last time, they actually raised it 40 cents. So they did the opposite of what he said. Because I think that they have some arguments to make against what President Trump is saying. Now, obviously, we stand with what President Trump has to say because he knows the truth of the matter. But some of the arguments that the gas companies can make is that due to our demand, we can raise these prices, and we're not gouging customers. Now maybe it makes you look bad, but our argument could be that our demand for supply is so high because Iran hasn't been delivering gas. So, 20% of our exports are up. So our prices have gone up with that as well. The problem with that is that the strait is open. And the truth of the matter is they don't have to do that. It is a coordinated effort in their best interests to do this to us. And we know that already because earlier this spring, they lowered it when he said, you better do this. And then when we quit paying attention, they raised it back up. So this is them trying to get away with it a second time, which means they need to be punished for it. So yes, they are doing this on purpose. They are doing it because they think some sort of leverage or argument. If they weren't disrespectful last time and raised it on us, you would know that we have an authentic system for gas and oil, but we clearly do not. So now they've actually raised it in protest of President Trump saying, well, we've got an argument, but it's still bullshit. So I did some research to see what, the internet would say, what AI would say about this. And here's what AI had to say. So this is why you don't need to take ChatGPT or whoever. You take what they say with a grain of salt, because you have better insight and discernment than they do, but they might be able to find results of information faster than you. But this is why you need to keep your head on your shoulders and not rely on AI to tell you things. And this is why. Here's what AI is telling me about the reality check of gas prices. Oil, $68 to $70 a barrel, WTI. Texas average regular gas is $3.33 a gallon, cheaper than the national of $3.85. Why not $200.50? Refining margins, taxes, 38 cents combined. Distribution, summer demand. Okay. Lingering global factors, even with Iran progress. Prices are falling with peace deals. The Texas advantage, energy powerhouse, lower overall costs, local distribution, because we get our gas either from West Texas or the Gulf Coast, and DFW mainly gets it from the Gulf Coast, at least during this time. And prices are in optimism under America First energy policies. So it's not covering it. It's not telling you the truth, which means that your brain power is better than what AI has to say. Because I just gave you the insight to what is actually going on. Because you can see the hive mind if you pay attention. And I can see the hive mind because I pay attention. And that is exactly what is happening. They are protesting because of the arguments that they can make, whether they actually say it or not. So if you're a Democrat watching this show, you're going to rip everything I just said apart. But if you're anybody else besides a Democrat, just take what I have to say with a grain of salt and go look at it yourself and watch and study. Because if you haven't watched and studied like I have, you're just taking my word for it. And I think you should. So one thing you will learn about me as time goes on, when I am right about something, I will tell you like, hey, I know this is what this is. And when I have an idea or I'm like really studying something, I'll tell you like, this is what I think. Like, but I could be wrong here. I'd have no problem telling you that I think that I might be wrong about something. But when I'm right about something, you better listen to me because I'm telling you I am right about something. I'm too far into the level of comprehension to let you know that I understand this way too well. And if there's something that I am wrong about with a great comprehension about something, that means there is a whole nother level on top of it that I didn't have access to or couldn't see. And sometimes that is the insider information that you would not know unless you were some high executive into a company like that. And that would make sense, but at least you're onto it. But in this case, I've studied this enough. I can tell you that is what is going on. They are making a case to keep these prices high so they can gouge you and take your money from you. And it makes them look bad because not everybody's MAGA. And there is a huge vacuum of power coming after President Trump leaves. But they don't understand that JD Vance is going to win the presidency. Hands down. The silent majority doesn't speak. So you don't know where they stand. And I hope that it stays that way deep down inside, if I'm totally honest. I want everybody to speak up so you crush this shit. But realistically, we speak with action and we're here to stay. We are the Republican Party and we are the future of this country. So if you're here, you better stay here and plant yourself and don't uproot. But that's what AI has to say about it. So believe me that President Trump knows, like, if I'm anywhere close to being correct, that means President Trump knows what I just said to be true, plus all of his information. Um, and that will also show you if he comes down on the gas companies for doing this, then he's got the evidence to counter their argument, which is I told you what their argument is just a few minutes ago. So that's gas prices. And what we know about energy, it affects everything. And it also affects real estate. So we'll get into real estate real quick. Because we have some interest. I actually have a pretty interesting update today. Let me get that prepared and ready to bring up to you. Did I seriously put this on the no, I didn't. No, I put this on the right. Yeah, here we go. So we're going to talk about some housing activity here in Texas. Because I think that the real estate market's going to get very interesting. I have a lot of predictions, but I'm not going to speak entirely on those yet. I'm just going to focus on statistics because I told you last week I'll give you an update. And I think it's better for you to know right now where real estate stands statistically. So hopefully you just take this information, absorb it, and from for the next couple of weeks, this is like an update on current statistics, and we'll get our June report here in the next, hopefully the next 2 weeks. But we have updates all the way up until May, and we've got a cool little graph to look at. So before we get there, should I start with the graphics? Yeah, I'll start with the graphics first before we get into the charts and the stats. Let me bring these up real quick. We will start with West Texas and Lubbock area. Here's a housing snapshot. Um, you know what? That's a little small for me to read. Let me actually bring these up myself. Uh, I'm sure you can see these a little bit better than I can, but this part of my screen is actually kind of small. Yep, here we go. So, housing snapshot here in Lubbock, May 2026. Home sales 551, 2.42% year over year. The dollar volume is 1.7 billion in sales, and the median price out in Lubbock was 249,000. That surprises me. I'm actually surprised that that number is that low. Because the boom with Lubbock, I figured was actually getting out of control, but I guess not. And it has 3.76 months of inventory, so it's almost at like 4 months inventory, which is good. Then College Station in Bryan, they had 378 home sales in the month, and that's 1.5 billion. And their median price is slightly higher, about $315,000 for the average house. And they have 5.63 months of inventory, so even better inventory, which is interesting that the median price is higher with extra inventory. You would think that would drive that down a little bit. But Midland's actually down in sales about 0.78%. Um, with only 254 sales, and their dollar volume is 1.1 billion, and their median price is closer to where I would expect it to be. That's kind of where I thought Lubbock would be too, honestly. But Midland is $377,500 for your average price of home, and they just have 3 months inventory, which is it's okay. It's not great. Um, but but see the price difference. So Lubbock is 250 for the average price of home. Then you go over to the Midland region, and the price of home is higher by like $127,000 or so. Over $125,000 higher for the same price. Um, so I guess that's normal, but I would just expect Lubbock. I thought Lubbock was catching up to Midland. I guess I was wrong about that, but I mean, it is what that is. But that is where that region stands. So let's go look at the San Antonio region. Where are they at now? Um, San Antonio, New Braunfels, their home sales are doing pretty well. They are for the month of May, they're 3,535 home sales, 3.79% year over year. They're up. The dollar volume is 1.3 billion, and the median price is $305,000 in New Braunfels in San Antonio region. Their months of inventory is 6+. They have 6+ months of inventory. That is a lot. That is a lot. Um, so yeah, that median, it might be cheaper going to San Antonio soon because that is a lot of inventory that they got to move. Austin, Round Rock, San Marcos. They had 3,284 home sales. Their dollar volume is 1.9 billion. That's a ton. And their median price is $435,000 for the average price of the house. And they have well over 5 months of inventory. So, a lot of opportunity in Austin. I don't have any rent numbers, but I know the rent in Austin is definitely on the decline. Um, so that's going to be an interesting area to watch, especially as Texas keeps going more red. And then we look at El Paso, which is a place where I would never convince anybody to go. Um, El Paso as a whole had 789 home sales with a dollar volume of 2.3 billion, which is in the negative. And the median price of home is 275,000, which is way too much for that area. And they have just over 3 months of inventory, so still not great. But we will not spend any more time on El Paso because I will not convince anybody to relocate from out of state over there unless I want them to get deported or something. And let's move on to our section. Our section. This is the DFW Metroplex, Houston, and just the statewide. I probably should have started off with this one. I went backwards, but who cares? Start from the bottom. We'll go to Houston first. Houston had a tremendous amount of sales, 8,000. Well, I mean, I say tremendous, but it's up 3.3%. I mean, it's still a lot. In the month of, this is, you know what? That's April. That's not even a May number. Why don't they do that? In the month of April, the home sales for Houston, Pasadena, Woodlands, whole territory. I guess what's that, Beaumont and all that too. That whole entire region had 8,000 sales in the month of April at a dollar volume of $3.5 billion in sales. And the median price in that area is 331,000. It's actually lower than I would have expected, to be honest with you, especially with the population. But they have 5 months of inventory, which is very healthy. But we move on to Dallas Fort Worth and Arlington. And we had the most home sales in all of the regions. Oh no, my graphic just went away. Here it is. So we had 9,233 home sales at a dollar value of 4.8 billion. And our median price is $400,000 as of May 2026. So as of May, just over a month ago, the average price of home is $400,000. That is a great snapshot for you to think of. And we have almost 4.5 months of inventory. So that is very healthy. And then statewide, the Housing Insight, our home sales, we had a total in the month of May for, I don't know if this was reporting the Houston area or not, because it looks like that month is off. But in the month of May, we have reported almost 34,000 homes sold. Now this does not have to do with moving out, moving in. It's just total. The dollar volume is $15 billion in home sales. With Texas, the average price of home is $340,000. And the statewide insights as of May states that we have closer to 5.5 months worth of inventory. So that is healthy and everything is mostly in the positive. But that is a great insight to where we are sitting in the real estate market. Now, it's not a hot market by any means, but that's not unhealthy. Um, but we're gonna move on to the housing activity and the sales. We'll kind of compare like the past to the present to let you know, give you a better idea of where we actually are standing to give you some more comprehension on this area. Let me see if I can pull this up. Yeah, here we go. So here is the graph currently. Now this gray line is 2026. This yellow line is 2 years ago, 2024. and the purple line is 2025, last year. So at the beginning of January last year, we had a better, basically, it's all the same. 19,000 sales, almost 20,000 in 2025, 19 and a half sales in 2024, and 19,000 sales in 2026 by January. February started off slower here. We had 22,000.5 sales this year, and last year we had 23,000. So we had a difference of almost 6,000 or so. And then 2024 was a little bit hotter. We had 24,000 sales compared to 22 and a half this year. So it was definitely hotter. But in March, it spiked. Spring of this year really jumped up. We almost hit 30,000 in sales in spring. 2024 was 28 and a half. And then last year was 28,000. So we went up almost 2,000, almost 2,000 extra sales in March. And I think that had to do with the consumer confidence. Um, in April was kind of the same thing where we were still projecting higher, or actually we performed higher in April this year than we have the past 2 years as well. So 29.7 thousand sales in April 2 years or last year, 31,000 almost 2 years ago, and 31,500 this year. In May is the last report that we have, and we are still peaking above the last 2 years. So almost 34,000 in May, 33,500 the past 2 years. And then we see a decline. So May is like peak season according to these statistics. Um, and June was 32,000 last year and 30,000 the year before that. So significant drop off um, for probably a certain amount of reasons. A lot of things happened in June 2 years ago. Um, Definitely put a damper in consumer confidence if you remember the events. I can think of one in particular that caused a lot and makes total sense with that number. And about 1,000 home difference from here on out, I would say. There's a big difference, about 2,000. Now, I don't know why this number is so low, but from my experience, it always seems like there's a big jump in August. Um, I pay attention to quite a bit to real estate, and it seems like the month of April has a big jump, which I don't really see a tremendous amount. I mean, it still goes up. Like this, you can see an influx of difference of clientele come as the year goes on, and the roller coaster definitely looks different than this. I might want to create my own roller coaster, but that might just be more of a my own personal experience from incoming clientele. But I see big waves in, well, I would say January, February. I sometimes see a fall off in March. April picks back up. May is somewhat still momentum, but June usually picks up quite a bit of sales. And then I see a drop off in July, not as hot. And then August has a big bump. And then sometimes around October, we'll get a little bit of a spike too, which this looks about accurate. But then when it hits November and these holidays, this makes a lot of sense because I definitely see this. I figured this August area would have a bigger spike than coming down on the decline. Now, this might just because I focused more on new home sales than actually, the comprehensive overall sales. Maybe that's why this graph doesn't look like the roller coaster that I'm aware of. But this area, November, December, is always a tremendous spike because this mid November season, about November 15th, all that area every year seems to have a tremendous spike in sales all the way up to um, about Christmas. Once it's about Christmas, people start getting hesitancy about spending money. They start using their Christmas money to buy gifts instead of new home purchases. There's always a big spike in that area. But now that we're hitting into July, I know that typically these new home sales are they kind of taper off a tad bit now. In August, there's also a big like wave of people that come through, and it's been this way for years. So, and I think new home sales is important to focus on because the price of a new home versus an existing home are very comparable, and the only people who are really buying like used homes either are intimidated by building their own home, aren't ready to make a move like that, or they need to move now and they don't have time to wait for 6 to 9 months for a house to get built, or for whatever reason you want to go a D.R. Horton route, they'll build your home in like 90 days. I think some are even like 30 days or something crazy. Like, I would never. So if you've done that, please don't get mad for being hardy or for doing that. But that is not a builder to go with. And I think I'm gonna bore you with the rest of these statistics, but we're gonna go over. I guess we'll go over this one last thing, and then we'll move on from this. I don't even know if you can see this. If I'm honest with you, this is so small, but basically in Texas of May of this year, this is saying that the average price is 442,000, which is interesting because the housing snapshot that we gave you, it said a different story, didn't it? Because it didn't it say that it was like 340,000? Let me find that graphic again. All right, here we go. Yeah, yeah, look at that. So this snapshot says that the median. Oh, okay. These are two different things. So this snapshot that I gave you, where it said the median price is $340,000 per home, versus this snapshot of the graph saying the average price. Oh, it says right here. Yeah, median price is 340, but the average price is 442,000. Okay. And then there's 150,000 active listings. That is a client calling. Sorry if that's buzzing through. It should not be ringing. Um, yeah, okay, never mind. I take the bat. So it shows you the median price, but the average sales price is significantly higher. So that's interesting. Um, let's take that back away, and we're back. So that is a general snapshot. And like I said, I'm not going to go too deep into details about that side of the real estate right now. I would like for you to just soak up those statistics during this show this time. And we will revisit that. I would probably in the next 2 weeks. And I will go over some more in-depth real estate on what to expect. Um, because we might be making a case to lower rates. If you're going with a new home builder, there are some home builders that I would personally vouch for that'll actually get you a lower interest rate, which will not raise back up. There are some builders out there that will actually buy down the rate for you during the home purchase, new home build purchase. And this could be a spec home or a new build. There are actually builders out here who will spend the money to buy your rate down to make it affordable. So you have more options than you think. I know who these builders are, so make sure you reach out to us. Send us an email, contact@americafirsttexas.com. You can address it to Tyler, put it to my attention, make sure that I'm the one who sees it. That way it doesn't like slip through my fingers somehow. And I will let you know who these builders are, and hopefully I will be able to assist you and find you rates that you don't know that you can get. And that is one thing that I'm going to be interested in helping you with. So whether you're out of state or in state, hit me up. Now I'm going to bring up one of these last things that I want to talk about. I don't know if I should bring this up yet. Maybe I should. Yeah, you know what? I didn't mean it. We're already an hour and a half in the show. I didn't mean to go this long. I tried to make this an hour show, but we had a lot to talk about, and I haven't seen you in about a week and a half, so we had a lot of stuff to cover. Now this source that I got this from, it's a reputable source, but if I'm going to be completely transparent with you, this is one of those times where I'm telling you, like, I'm pretty sure this is about as accurate as it gets, but I'm not 100% sure about this. But I thought this was at least interesting enough to bring up to you and show you, where I would like to talk about it, because there's things on here that I haven't really considered, and it's going to be important to focus on if you're in sales. Because something like this that trends, information and knowledge like this trends, will increase competition for positions like this. But if you have somebody like me introducing it to you early, which means you can be the ones jumping the gun instead of your competition, this is very interesting, because the number one position that is on this list that I'm about to show you is something that I'm into. So I want to share this with you. Let's look at it. Now, this is sales careers. Check this out. In fact, I'm going to zoom this in. Let's just fill up the whole screen. The highest paying sales careers. Now, these are ranked. Enterprise sales executive. This is where you sell complex solutions to large organizations, high deal value, high impact. So the average total compensation is somewhere in the $200,000 to $500,000 plus range. Um, and then there is SaaS, sales experience. This is recurring revenue, high growth companies, massive upscale, and you average compensations like 150K to 400 plus K. And then there's sales engineers, which is I thought was really interesting. I never heard it phrased that way, but these are technical experts who sell solutions and build trust. So I have experience in one and three. You know what? I'll just zoom back out so you can see. We can stay on topic. Um, I can tell you from what we do here at America First Texas and what I've done in my past careers. Um, creating solutions for companies is very lucrative if you position yourself correctly. Um, because once you fix some problems that companies have massive problem fixing themselves, this is a path to becoming a whole new brand versus just some sort of employee where you're just a salesperson. You can position yourself into a career like this and work on your own. You can be a contractor if you brand yourself and position yourself correctly for positions like those top three. One and three particularly, I would need to dig into number two more before I just talk about it. Sorry, I need a little bit more coffee. Um, but this is very similar to what we offer here at America First Texas. And this is more focused on the business solution side. Here's what I can tell you. I can't put into a description of what we could actually do for you. Because it's one of those things that where like you have to see it to believe it and to understand. And that's the best way that I can put it. Um, once you fix a major problem for a company, they have the confidence that you can fix a lot more. Um, my biggest success that I had was I fixed I fixed a company. I fixed a problem with the company with a very not obvious solution. And it took a long time to do it. And I've actually covered that on the show before, probably a couple of times because it was my biggest success the first time. Once I realized what I was capable of with my camera, it was more of the back end of things that opened my eyes to what I'm actually capable of. Now, I didn't position myself correctly in that situation because I didn't know what I was really actually capable of. I had all the confidence in the world. I was undoubtedly going to succeed because I put so much time and effort into it. Like I was going to fix the problem and succeed, and I did. But there were a lot of things working against me before, during, and after that process that was not in my control. But that was a major learning experience for me going forward. And I'm going to be straight up with you. If you go into those at least top three areas, you're going to go through what I went through too. So you should definitely listen to me if you have any interest in these areas, because these areas pay a lot of money. And it's not, this is actually somewhere like where I think like MAGA needs to really home in on because we are productive people. We want to fix things, make things efficient, work correctly, and make it better than ever. We are very, very productive people. Like we don't want to just go log in, clock in, and hang out. And when you have a list of things to do, I'll knock the list off and wait for you to give me more like things to knock out. That's not what we're about. We're a totally different animal in the employment section, in the employment sector, which is amazing that we don't get better positions. But that's where this culture went. We went DEI, communism, social credit. Like people like me and people like us got eliminated from the workforce for free money. It's insane. These careers, let me zoom back in again so you can look at this one more time because I know I'm selling the hell out of this. You need to trust me. If you can figure out number one and number three, which are, I think, in my personal opinion, they're very similar. Now, once you niche down, obviously you're going to find all the differences. But my point being, if you can figure out these two and you start at least pursuing those somehow, some way, it will blow your mind at not just the amount of money that you will make doing it, but how good you will feel about yourself. The accomplishment of performing your first solution for a major company that changes the entire company, it will set you up for a decade. One solution will make you feel good for 10 years. And I can say that 5 years into it. I know I'm 5 years after I made my biggest solution, and it is ingrained in me that I can do this as long as I get the opportunity from somewhere and someone anywhere to do this again. But this time I know what to expect, which means I need more opportunities, not less. And this is the point of time where MAGA has been waiting for. The culture is ready for people like me, for people like you, for people like us to get here and actually make a difference. You want to make sure that the shit that we have gone through these past 5, 10, 15 years never happens again. Get out there and go get some jobs like that. You can contract these jobs. Trust me, you do not need to go find a company to go do those sales careers. It is almost in your best interest to go do this freelance and contract by yourself for a multitude of reasons. So, if you want to know more about this, email me contact at americafirsttexas.com and let me coach you. You see that price tag? It's not a joke. In fact, like what I was doing before this, I could reach 600K easy, but it was a bad culture time and I didn't get there. Um, but my projections, I can 100% tell you, my projections had me at a 600K projection for this. So this is not incorrect. This graphic is correct. That number one and that number three are big, and it's just you using your mind. And it is best if you position yourself to be outside of the company coming in. Now you can think about being a consultant or whatever, um, which I guess, I mean, there is a lot of consultation in that, but you're different. You're different than a business consultant. These are different positions and they're different purposes and they're different outcomes because a lot of consultation has to do with um, very non-specific niche things. But once you get into the deep down niches, that is where this stuff is way more lucrative than consultations. And if you position it correctly, you need some coaching on this. Believe me, unless you're someone really smart watching the show, I will help you position yourself if you do this. Believe me. Contact me, contact at americafirsttexas.com. I will help you get in this direction if you're interested. Do not sleep on this. Let's look at the rest of it. Because I might not know what all these positions are, but those top two or the top three, um, that really spoke to me, and I thought I had to share this with you. The enterprise sales executive and the sales engineer, particularly. I know about number two. I had a client who was into this actually, and they wanted to solicit my media services to help amplify that area that they were focusing on. Um, but that didn't really work out between us because they had. Let me put it this way: I was too smart, and they had figured out too much, and sometimes it doesn't work out because sometimes you're too smart, and yeah, missed a big opportunity, but sometimes they can't see far either. If you do not position yourself correctly, so much money will slip through your fingers. We live in a place in time where people think that just because they learned a little bit of information, they can just go do it. You don't. You need a coach. You need an outline. You need the whole landscape and the whole trajectory, and then you can go do something with it. If you're uncoachable and unteachable, you're not going to make it. You have the time to invest into something and just listen to what somebody has to say. You will be so set up. Okay. That's as much info as I can give you. Let's move on. Account executive, sales director, business development director, VP of sales, sales consultant, and channel sales manager. Account executive, manage key accounts, grow relationships, and drive revenue. 120 to 250 a year. Sales director, lead team, set strategy, and own revenue outcomes, 150 to 350K plus. Business development director, that's been a big one lately. And there's a reason for that. There's a lot of business development positions out there. They're trying to take our job from us, trying to take your position away and make you work for them and develop their business instead of being a consultant. But 140 to 300K plus, I would say that's on the higher end of things that I've said, but that's a director position. But it's a whole different responsibility. Find new markets, partners, and growth opportunities. So if I'm going to be completely honest, number 6, that business development director, it's much more difficult of a position than I can tell you. And that is because, how do I word this correctly? That's not supposed to be an employer position. You're not supposed to be employed and do that. So it can be done. You can make a lot of money doing that. But if you're going to go number 6, you might as well go number 1 or number 3. I would skip past 6. Business development director, you might as well just go do number 1 or number 3 by yourself. It's almost the same thing. You're going to be inclined to do 1 and 3 if you're going to do number 6. Sales director, I'm going to be honest, those are usually going to be on the lower end. Your sales people are going to make more than you. So you can make a lot more, obviously, depending on what industry, company, or whatever. VP of sales, they're higher than the director because it's the VP position. But even in those positions, like, you will have to navigate your way up that. You can't just go get that position. But if I'm being straight up, you can go get a sales director position. You can walk into a position like that a lot of the times. As long as you have experience, you can walk into that position because they'll just let you go. And everybody wants that position. Like, the demand for it versus the strategies aren't that various. It's more about like what you can bring to the table. So you can definitely get a sales director position. You can walk into those. I could help you coach you navigate through that. Don't do number 6. If I were you, if you're going to do number 6, just go for number 1 or number 3. Just swing for the fence. You're not trying to get, if you go for number 6, you're just trying to get on first base. But you don't want to get on first base. You want to hit a home run because you're doing the same shit. So just hit a home run. You're going to do it eventually anyway. And you'll feel so much better. Don't go work for somebody else if you don't have to do that. VP of sales, own the sales strategy, team, and company growth. That's a lot of responsibility. Good luck getting up there. That's going to be either a newer company or you're going to have to climb all the way through that and wait for salespeople to fall off. There's usually a lot of overturn depending on what industry you're in. Sales consultant, leverage expertise to help businesses grow and pay for results. Sales consultants are great positions for women. In many industries, that is a very nice position for women to get into as sales consultant, because you can do a tremendous amount of inside sales, which is like the ultimate position. And honestly, if we're being straight up, women in inside sales is about the greatest lineup that you could get. warm, welcoming, happy, usually depending on the woman. Um, but that immediate approach has to do with everything. First impressions are everything. And if you make the client or customer coming in to feel good, then you can turn them into a client. So sales consultants are great targets for women. Great targets, depending obviously on the industry. But then you have channel sales managers, which is you build and scale partner relationships that drive revenue. Um, those are tough, but that is probably where number nine, I would, in my opinion, I think that's where the majority of new people into these sales industries can dive into. Because that's going to be more forgiving on effort. So if you don't have much sales experience, number nine is something you should definitely try to get into because you'll at least have leniency. And if you don't work it, you can, if it doesn't work out there, you can go do that somewhere else. You can go get another one of those positions pretty easily. But you can make a lot of money too. And if you just drive and just try and not really, if you don't put too much pressure on yourself and don't try too hard to focus on the success of it and just go see where it works and how it works and notice like it works when I'm in this environment or this industry or this place and it doesn't work over here, then you can learn to avoid these and start just walking into these scenarios and this group in this area over here. Once you just get into the routine of like having this black and white difference of like filter out, filter in, then you'll start being successful. But that's only going to come with your experience. I can't teach that to you. Only you can see what you see and learn what you learn. But that is a great entry point into successful sales. And that's the channel sales manager. And believe me, don't be intimidated by the name sales manager. This is just a sales manager level is just you in sales with comprehension. You can become a sales manager almost immediately because you just take a framework and teach it to your salespeople. And if the framework doesn't work, you change it. And a lot of times you're going to get that framework from the director. The director is going to get that framework from the VP of sales. So getting into a sales manager position is going to help your resume so that you can become a director, so that you can become the VP of sales. So shoot for, honestly, I think a lot of people sleep on that one. A lot. Turn on. A lot of people sleep on the sales manager position. I've been in situations where I was trying to get a sales position, but the entire room was trying to get the sales position. And they asked in the convention, they asked who's here for the sales consultant position and who is here for the sales manager position. Everybody raised their hand for the sales consultant because they know how much you can make. Nobody raised their hand for the sales manager position, including myself. But I observed it and was like, I have a ton of management experience. And everybody wanted the consultant position, but nobody wanted the manager position. If I would have raised my hand, I would have been the only candidate for the manager position. Now, maybe or maybe not, I might have not gotten that, but I probably could have. You need to know what that would have done? That would have got me in the door. Then I can been like, you know what? I'm struggling with the management side of things. Can I go fill a consultant role? I could have maneuvered myself into that position at that time and gotten the manager position, which I have a ton of experience in. And then, you know what? I need to make more money. So maybe I'm actually not that good at management. Can I go be a consultant so I can learn and then become the manager again? Could have leveraged myself that way and probably fallen down and making a whole bunch of money and then climb back up if I wanted to or not. Honestly, that would have been a great strategy. So that is some good inside baseball for you to think about. And then we have international sales manager. Um, would not push for that if I were you. Only a certain amount of skill sets and people can do that. However, sell across global markets and unlock bigger opportunities. So this really depends on what you get into. This to me, it doesn't really differ. It doesn't really say a differentiation. Maybe I need more coffee. of whether this is a position for another company or for yourself. So, one thing I learned about the movie industry while I was trying to get my own TV show made was that the distribution of the media is substantially more profitable if you distribute the media across the world. And wish I would have done that. I didn't. Hey, oh, it's talking about there. Okay. I was gonna say if my audio stop, I'm gonna be so mad. But it takes a special person to do the international sales manager. But the revenue is 120K to 250K. But you have the right product or whatever, you can position yourself to do that. And if you learn how to advertise and spend your advertisements correctly and negotiate international deals, which I've actually done before. Let's see, what was excuse me. Sorry, it's been 2 hours. I had a situation where I negotiated an international deal, and this was 2012. Was it 2013? Oh, no, it was 2013. Yeah. It was yeah, it was summertime. Summertime 2013 or spring or summer 2013 because it was the year after I was in there for a while. I negotiated an international deal. And it was basically relative to what this is. Now this is sell across global markets and unlock bigger opportunities. So how much was I going to make off of that deal? God, it's been so long. I was getting, now this was an employment opportunity, not a like a contractor or anything like that, which I was kind of hinting at. This is more of what this type of position would be, even though it says manager. Um, if you could learn how to sell things internationally, when you can manage your money correctly, you would be amazed at how much larger your target market actually becomes on an international scale versus just focusing here in your region or your state or your country or whatever. You can take things international and you can learn how to grow it slower and spread it out, and you would blow your mind. It would absolutely blow your mind to what you're capable of if you find the right product to sell on an international scale. It could be something simple too. You would be really surprised if you know how to manage money and roll it out correctly. Um, it'd be a lot of work, but but a position like this, I can say that's accurate. 120K to 250K plus. That plus is big. Fact, what was my salary? Was my salary going to be 125? I think it was. Is that what this even said? Yeah. My salary was going to be, from the international deal that I did, my salary was going to be 125 a year. No, it wasn't. No. God, this is so long ago. I'm having trouble remembering. Was I going to be on a two? Was I going to be a 250K salary? Oh shit, I was. Yeah. No, I'm totally had that wrong. Okay, there was another sales position before that. In fact, the year before that, where my average income was going to be about 125. Yeah, that's right. Because I was going to get the Aston Martin because my income was 125. So at that time, I was about to get an Aston Martin for like 180. And I actually had 180 in commissions coming, so I was just going to buy it outright, like a dumbass. I didn't know shit back then, but but this other position that I did, it was I was going to have a $250,000 salary, and I was going to have a 12% stake in the company because of the international deal that I made, and the products that we were selling were wholesale. And we were actually doing a conversion here within the States to help bring them in to where they couldn't come here normally. I'm not going to say which country, but I think it ended up happening, but the owner of the company screwed the whole deal up because he thought that the owner of the company saw it as, I have to write you this check. And it's the way I negotiated it. I negotiated it because I had already been screwed over in sales. The year before that, I made a tremendous amount of money. I made like $180,000, and it was not that long of an amount of time. It was like I know it was within 6 months. I think it was like 5 months. Within 5 months, I had made like $180,000 in commissions, and I saw none of it. Like I got screwed over hardcore. But then I spent a year and a half developing this other company for this other guy. And I made this international conversion. And once I got into that, I negotiated a $250,000 salary, a 12% stake in the company. And I got into, I was trying to negotiate the like land ownership as well, so I could have future say in what happens with the property and the land. Um, but I don't think I was heading towards success on that anyway. And that hadn't been finalized, but that's what I was pushing for. I was trying to get land ownership rights as well. That way I can have like super long term stake. But basically, the way the owners of the company saw this deal that I had basically practically almost finalized is he was going to have to write me a $250,000 check, which we were getting within the funding, and we were getting a tremendous amount of money. Like we were getting plenty of money. But he saw it as I had to write this guy this check and I can just cut you out and not pay you any of it and keep it. But what he didn't realize is that they didn't want to do business with you. They want to do business with me. I'm the one they want to do business with because they don't trust you. They trusted me. So the deal didn't go through after all that. So he cut me out to save himself $250,000, which he did. He saved himself from having to spend $250,000. And he didn't receive anything off of the deal. And he crashed the company and ran into the ground like everybody else who screws me over. So just know that there is much more opportunity, even if you're brand new, out there than you think. But you can't think like, I just want to go clock in somewhere. You have to actually want to try and go do something. And there is a tremendous amount of money. But even after everything that I've told you, I would highly encourage you climb up this ladder and go after number 1, number 3. I'll just pull that down. Number 1 and number 3. You can look into number 2 if you want. I can tell you that number 2, like I told you, the SaaS sales executive. Now remember what I said earlier. That number 2, it was rare. That is an untapped area, and there's a lot of money right there. If you're a very experienced salesperson, look at number 2. If you're striving and you're basically the soul of MAGA, go for 1 or 3. That's where you belong, believe me. But very experienced people, look at number 2. If you want more information about you, I'll tell you about the client. I'll tell you more about what I saw and what was going on, but that's what they were into. And I had never heard of it. Once I got into it, I was like, oh, well, it's kind of like what I'm doing, but it was different. And I saw their sales meetings. I listened to them. I sat in on them. I saw how everything they went through. And I was like, damn. And y'all made how much off that client? And I was like, whoa. And they were just leading them on. I mean, they were helping them. They weren't unbeneficial, but it was interesting to listen to their sales conversations because they could tell that the client, I can't even hate on them because it's the same thing I've gone through with a lot of my clients. They just don't know how to drive the car that I'm building for them. And you can pay me to be the driver, or you can go drive this race car you've never been behind the wheel of and you're going to go crash it. Or you can let me teach you how to drive it and you can go drive it forever. And it was a similar situation with them. And that's kind of what they related it to, what I said during my interview with them too. A lot of these people are just uneducated in what you're talking about, and they don't have the time to learn it, even though they try. You have to gatekeep some of this stuff from them because they just want to rip it off of you and not spend the money and go do it themselves, which is just human nature. But if you position it correctly, then you can get them to pay you a lot of money, which it sounds bad almost in principle, but if you understand the amount of money you're actually going to help them make, then you want to make sure that they pay you for your information, because there is so much value to your information that that price tag is actually nothing compared to the revenue they will generate from that information. So that was a lot to take up today. We are at exactly the 2-hour mark, so I'm going to cut it off there. That is it. Thank you for being here. We covered a lot today, and I'm probably, because this is such a long episode, I'm probably going to skip next week's show, and I'm just going to promote this one. Because you need to spend more time soaking this down, or soaking this up and writing this down. See, I'm already talking backwards. We need to cut this off, but you need to spend time going back over this business section at least. Reach out to me, contact me, ask me some information about the stuff we went over today. Today is the day to DM me. Especially while I'm a little bit slow in business right now, because we're still on our 6-month phase 1 campaign. But I'm about to reach my second checkpoint. And once I get there, my third checkpoint is going to be like that, immediate. And once that happens, I'm going to be so busy. Like, I need to give you a heads up right now. I am this close to being like real busy. And I'm like going to have a struggle replying to you and talking to you. So if you're watching this right now is the time to DM me and talk to me, because in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be up to here in my schedule. So please reach out to me right now. Don't hesitate. Don't wait. Just say something. I'll talk to you about anything. It doesn't matter. Reach out to me now. Do not wait. I'm not going to have the time during this phase 1 campaign. I'm just being transparent about that right now. So that being said, thank you so much for being here. This is America First Texas. I'm your host, Tyler Cambry. I will see you all soon. I hope you enjoyed today's show. There's a lot of information. Take care. Happy 250th birthday, America. Love you.